property owners for zone changes for steep fields. All 5 properties are located on County Route 10 and the Riverwood intersection area. Copies of the applications are available at the office of the dated September 18th, 1997, marked April, town clerk.
Okay, I'd like to continue the public hearing by asking that the applicant for the road zone change be able to speak first and giving opportunity to anybody who wants to speak afterwards. So, Mr. Patton, agree? Yes, the microphone is there.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, my name is Henry Fadden, and I am the owner of the parcel of land on County Route 10, the town of Schroppel, between the center road, consisting of approximately 52 to 55 acres. And I have presented to this board an application for a zone change to reclassify this property in a C2 district. Before we proceed with the hearing itself, I think that there is a question that should be resolved regarding the City County Planning Agency meeting in Oswego that took place on the 7th of October. I understand that one of this town board members was present at that meeting, and that's Mrs. Joanne Cyber. And I further have reason to believe and was advised that Mrs. Cyber identified herself as a member of this board. And I'd like this board to examine into this question as to whether or not any recommendations were made by Mrs. Cyber that would indicate that she was not open-minded as to the proceedings that are before this board tonight. If what I have been told is correct, that board members spoke against this application, then I think that my case has been prejudiced and I'm being treated unfairly, and there's not open-mindedness by this board member, and I would like the board and the town attorney to examine this question before we proceed.
What is your question?
My question is, I would like the board to resolve whether or not Mrs. Cyber spoke for the board when she was at this meeting in Oswego, whether she was delegated by this board, or whether she appeared there and identified herself as a member of the board and appearing there as a board member, and speaking in favor or against, whichever the case may be, against the proposition that I am presenting to this board for action tonight.
Did you speak on it?
No, I was asked some questions by Mr. Vicker because he knew I was from Schroppel. He asked me just information or questions. I did not speak for or against. I just merely answered questions.
Could you tell us what those questions were?
One was where Mrs. Green's property was. I can't remember all of them. They were asked the general questions that he felt that I would be aware of. There was nothing to the effect of, he asked if perhaps what, if they had covered concern. And I said, most of them they had, but then they brought it to the board. That was basically it. I never gave any opinion of my own or in any way indicated how I felt or did not feel about it. I just answered his questions as factually as I knew them.
This is Mr. Vickery here.
Point
Yes.
of order, Mr. Dalton. This is a public hearing, and unless every board member is prepared to answer questions and accusations, I don't think this is the proper forum, just as a point of order.
Mr. Vickery here.
Yes, I am.
Could you answer that question, sir?
Mrs. Cybers is exactly right. She just stated, I asked her a question. She stated to answer the questions I had and did not really take a position on any of the zoning proposals brought before the county planning board.
Did you bring up the issue of Indian artifacts before that board?
I said that they had addressed it, but that was also an issue that was brought before the board.
Who brought that up, you or Mr. Vickery?
I believe they did all their copies.
Was anybody with you other than yourself, or you were alone?
To answer these questions, what a public hearing. Is it an inquisition or a hearing?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I think this is an important issue, and I think that it was highly improper for this to take place as a member of this board, to go before an administrative agency that has jurisdiction on the quantity of the vote. That's what I'm concerned about, because of the vote requirements, when there's a recommendation against. And I think it was prejudicial.
I wasn't there to speak to them, I was there just totally as a spectator.
And I think Mr. Vickery just pointed that out.
I did not go there to address that in any fashion. I was just there on the observer.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to proceed with my presentation, but I'm not prejudicing my rights to take whatever I think is proper after I learn more about this. And that, incidentally, I requested the minutes of that meeting. And I was told that the secretary was too busy to do the minutes so that I could have them for this meeting. It would have maybe alleviated a lot of questions, but the minutes were not available. Okay, let's get to the meat of the meeting. I've owned this property for 31 years. I bought it in 1966 from Mrs. O'Hare, who lived in the big Schroppel mansion at the time her husband died in the year of 1966. I got to know her and did some legal work for the family after her husband died. And she offered some of her land for sale because having a difficult time paying the taxes and meeting her obligations. So I bought this, and at that time, it was zoned as an agricultural site. I held the property and did nothing with it, except I did offer it to some farmers who wanted to plant some beans or some corn, but they abandoned the crops because they couldn't grow because of the heavy clay content of the property. So it was in 1976 that I first received an offer from Dennis O'Hare, who represented some developers who wanted to put together a planned unit development with my property and the Gaber property. And I agreed to do that, and I have the correspondence here that related to that. However, that project fell because I was told that they did certain soil testing, and the soil testing did not meet standard conditions to allow for percolation tests in the event that they went to housing in some of the areas. And the fact that there were no public services available, such as water and gas and sewage. So that's one transaction that fell through because of the condition of the land and the lack of facilities. The second matter that came before me, and I want you to know I'm not a land developer. I represent a land developer because that's the private thing that I want to do. The next thing that came to my attention was in March, it was in 1986, when a builder by the name of Michael Fibregos offered to buy my properties. And he submitted a contract to his attorney, Mario Dorigo. And in that contract, which I have here, there was a stipulation that in the event that the land was not perked for percolate, or was not perked to test to allow septic systems to be installed, that he could withdraw this contract. So I gave them permission to go on the land to do the testing, and that was in the early part of 1986. It so happened that after they did the testing, that I got a letter on February the 19th asking for an extension because they could not get the perk test satisfactory to the requirements of the county and the town. But they asked for an extension of time, which I gave them. After, in March the 7th, 1986, they had finished their second round of testing and told me that I should return the deposit, which I did because the deal was off. They could not get a perk test on my property. I know it's a heavy clay content, so that arrangement fell through. The next opportunity that I had to hope that somebody would come in and be able to develop this property along the lines of the zoning at that time, which was residential and still is, of course, was an offer from the Charles family. And Michael Charles Jr., who might be here, I'm not sure, made an offer to buy that. And again, it was contingent upon perk test because they were going to develop single-family housing. So we put a contract together, and I want to show you, in the interest of our good faith,
Where would the board like to show it? So the public can see it all. That's there.
I don't know if you can see this very well or not, but it's a map of my property made by Nick Iannuzzi, Alfred Iannuzzi, licensed land surveyor. He's also a land planner. This map was made on March 10th, 1989, to coincide with Charles' offer to put this property to use as residential. We went to the expense of having that property laid out in building lots. As you can see, all those lots are in here with a road coming in off Twins Road and two roads coming in off of County Route 10 to construct these houses with the contours shown on the lower portion of the map, which was to be held for a later date. But this is the area that we wanted to develop. And again, we could not, the Charles family sent the engineers out there, and as a matter of fact, I even had land surveyors go out there to do perk tests, and nobody could get a perk on this land. It was just impossible. So without the public sewers, public water, this deal fell through. Now, I know that there was a report by a committee a couple of years ago regarding the aquifer. And I recall being here when that report was submitted. And I don't know if that report's available, but I have it here anyhow. On page 5, it was a consensus of the committee that made this study that residential septic systems are the single greatest potential source of contamination among the current uses. That was in the aquifer report. And further on down the report, It says because the southern end of the aquifer lies in the path of encroaching development in the town of Clay and Onondaga County, and due to the influence of factors including the Great Northern Mall, the southern portion of the aquifer is the fastest growing portion of the town of Schroppel, which is the fastest growing town in the county of Oswego. Now, that was done a few years ago, but yet there's still been nothing done about sewers or public water. The county has expanded the roadway south of the bridge, as you well all know. There's water on the other side of that bridge. The bridge, I understand, was designed to take a pipeline so that water could be brought across there. This town needs assessed valuation. Whether it's on my property or where it is, we've got to get off dead center and do something to bring public utilities to this part of the town. And these are the reasons why I cannot develop this property. I can't sell it. Nobody's going to buy this property and put those lots in if they can't have public water. And they're not going to depend upon the aquifer. So with those thoughts in mind, I ask the board to consider favorably my application. If it doesn't, if the board denies my application, what do? Well, first of all, I hope it will pass, because if it does, I'm going to make a big effort, whatever I can do, with either committees of this town or politicians or what, to try and get the water issue resolved. I can solve a sewage issue too, because I'm told that the septic tanks are having problems up in this area. And there's no reason why the public utilities and public facilities can't be installed. I would bring in a land planner, I would bring in an engineer to look at these situations, to make recommendations to the town. But you've got to come up with some assessed valuation opportunities. I just hope that you'll consider this as a bona fide application. I come into this town, I'd like to stay here and develop this property. I've paid the taxes for 31 years. I'd like to get some return, but it won't be returned on single-family houses on that property unless there's public utility. So I ask you to consider it favorably, and if there's any questions the board might have, I'll be glad to answer them. Thank you very much.
Anybody from the board? Anybody on the board? Any questions? Not at this time? Thank you, Mr. Patton. Mr. Green? Yeah. Could you move the board back there?
Still wanted to come in.
Yeah.
I'm Roseanne Lehman. My husband Gary and I reside at 4209 River Road. At this time, my husband Gary and I applied for a zone change concerning the property on the west side of County Road 10 and Oneida River Road to C2 Commercial. As you know, the existing properties on the east side of County Road 10 are presently zoned industrial, with convenience store, gas station, being operated on that side for several years, as well as a posted sign indicating commercial land for sale. This zone request will make the area more consistent with that which already exists and will lend itself to a broader growth within southern Oswego County and the town of Schroppel. Our request follows in line with the other applicants along the west side, therefore eliminating being labeled spot zoning. Both sides of the road will be in continuity with each other. We have owned this property for 31 years. At one time, this was an agricultural area, and in 1974, the property was rezoned to R1 commercial, R1 residential. What would have happened if residential zoning was questioned or denied? Then individual property owners would not have been allowed to purchase land for the purpose of constructing a dwelling. Could it have been stated that by constructing a dwelling, It would have taken away from the intended use of the land by the farming community for the purpose of producing crops. Changing conditions. There are and will continue to be changing conditions. Change should not exist for the sake of change, but change should exist for the improvement to make things better. For without change, where would we be? We take the position that a denial of the zone change is a denial of our property rights, which restricts the opportunity of the highest and best use, as is a per se taking. Please take into consideration all the aspects of this request in determining a reasonable, constructive decision, one that will hopefully benefit the growth of the community and its surrounding area. Thank you.
Mr. Wright?
My name is Prentice Wright. This summer I purchased the Schroppel mansion, and we have turned it into a bed and breakfast. The town was nice enough to grant us a zone variance, a use variance in order to do that. I have requested a zone change to commercial for the reason to enhance the use of the property as far as profitability goes, but to maintain the property as the historic property that it is. I reside at the Schroppel mansion. I plan on staying there a long time. Plan on doing business there a long time. I don't want to see anything happen to either the home or the area that would affect it in a negative way. Anything that I would do or plan to do with that house would be in the keeping of its historic nature. All I can do is pledge that to you and to the people of Schroppel. Any questions? Thank you.
Mr. Charles? Mr. D'Alessandro?
Pardon?
You wish to speak?
Well, not really, because I don't think there's anything to speak or talk about, but I will say a few things. You know, when you work pretty hard in this world, you don't have to be afraid of anything. My name is John D'Alessandro. I'm Roseanne Green's father, thank God. And all I've got to say is this, that I purchased that property, my wife and I, in 1970. And I purchased an industrial property. And at that time, I paid a fair amount of money. And all I've got to say is that in the year of 1974, that it was taken away from us. Unknown to me. I didn't know it for 6 months later, which I wasn't too happy about the whole situation. But I don't think I got a fair deal. I will say this to these people, that during World War II, we lost 605,000 men for freedom. And just, they won't forget that. A lot of them are a lot younger, they don't know what blood was shed for our well-being here in America. So just remember that. Thank you.
Okay, anyone that did not sign this sign-in sheet that wishes to do so to speak at this time?
mean I have to go last?
Oh, there you go.
Sorry.
What's your name?
Robert Stafford.
Yeah. I used my pencil. Does it work? Political. If I got it is. How much more blood can you be?
You see where I got your sign, don't you?
Probably on your back line.
Front line, I didn't get it.
Okay, I will, well, let me read into the record first these letters that I received before I open it up. Dear Mr. Dalton, I'm writing to make you aware of my position regarding the upcoming vote to change several parcels of land near the County Route 10 Center and Oneida River Road interchange from R3 to C2. It is my understanding that once a parcel of land is zoned C2, the County Planning Board cannot deny any type of business that fits the categories listed in C2. I consider the area described to be a residential area, and there are many types of businesses listed under C2 that would not be desirable in a residential neighborhood. I am not against commercial development in our township. However, it seems we have other commercially zoned areas that are not filled to capacity. The area in question presently doesn't seem to me to be an area in which to encourage commercial development. I drive through this area every day, sometimes several times in a day. At certain times of day, it is very heavily traveled, and the way the intersection is constructed can also add to the difficulty of maneuvering through the area. I believe there are 5 requests for the zone change being considered. From newspaper reports I've read, it appears that 3 of these landowners do not live in the immediate area. I don't see how they can be concerned with how the zone change would affect the landowners who actually reside in the area. I believe the majority of people living or traveling to the area in question do not want the proposed zone change. I don't think that a change should be made against the wishes of the majority in order to benefit a few. I also don't understand how the board could consider voting in favor of this change when none of the requests indicated what type of business would be built on the property. I'm not questioning the legality of it, I'm questioning the morality of it. In closing, I'd like to encourage you to vote no to the requested zone change, and thank you for your time in reviewing my letter. Sincerely, Beth Andrews, 928 County Route 12, Pennellville. Dear Mr. Dalton, we respectfully request that the following letter be read into the town record of the public hearing. And it says on September 17th, well, we'll make it October 15th. We are totally against the commercial zoning that has been proposed for the County Route 10 Center Road area. We urge you to vote against each and every zoning request that has been submitted. Commercial zoning in no way benefits the town of Schroppel or the people who live in this town. There are many disadvantages and serious implications to changing the current zoning to commercial. First of all, our town is not equipped to support commercial development. We have no public water or public sewers. How will commercial businesses in this area function on wells and septic tanks? We also have no town police department. What police agency will monitor the area? Unfortunately, commercial development brings along with the possibility of an increased crime rate. We all know that there are very few police officers patrolling the roads in our county. Secondly, commercial development will only destroy the country-like atmosphere that our town residents appreciate. Increased traffic, noise, and pollution are just a few of the disadvantages to consider. Since most people move here because they like the rural setting, homeowners may see their property values decrease. Decreased property values are detrimental to everyone in our town. Lastly, we do not believe that commercial businesses can survive on County 10 or Center Road. Just take a look at how difficult it is for businesses to survive at Market Fair North on Route 31, which is a heavily traveled area in comparison to Route 10, and also on Route 57 at the Three Rivers Plaza. We are simply saturated with businesses in northern Onondaga and southern Oswego counties. What happens when these businesses do not survive? They leave vacant buildings which become an eyesore to the area. You are obligated to vote for what is in the best interest of the town and its people. You were elected to represent the people. By voting against commercial zoning, you will be doing the job that the people of this town will expect from their representative. Vote no to commercial zoning. Sincerely, Patrick and Donna Mulhern, Twins Road, Pennellville. To Town Supervisor Dalton and Council Members Branch, Sivers, and Tassone. For over 15 years, the Schroppel Town Council has been held hostage by small local special interest groups. In the early days, the message was that southern Oswego County was set to prosper and grow. It has not happened. We have denied business the opportunity to develop and grow in the town of Schroppel, thereby denying the taxpayer the access to lower taxes. The answer is not simply to cut the budget. The real long-term answer is more complex, requiring intelligence and thought. We need to broaden the tax base, control expenses, and also make it attractive and affordable for all the residents of the town. I'm convinced that all of you want to do the right thing and make the best decisions for all the 10,000 residents of the town. Do not be short-sighted and swayed by the threat of unpopular news coverage that is going to happen no matter what action you take. It is time to move away from the we win, you lose mentality and onto the win-win situation for all the town residents. Contrary to what some believe, this is not Hicksville. We are not Hicks, and we do not need saviors to protect us from ourselves. Allow the town to move forward, or we will all lose. Vote for progress. Sincerely, Gerald Gates. Dear Mr. Dalton, we respectfully, it's already read it. Okay. To the Town Supervisor Robert Dalton from Carol Hoyleon, 223 County Route 10, Penalville, New York, regarding public hearing of the commercial zoning. I am sending this because I have to work tonight and I cannot attend. I recently moved here. It took all of my savings to buy this new house. I'm mortgaged for the rest of my life. I moved here to get away from the city, from the noise, crowds, pollution, and traffic. The idea of changing this area to commercial zoning is my biggest nightmare. There are dozens of empty properties in this area. We do not need to build more. I'm very much against the commercial zoning. Did you have any others? Okay, then I will take right here from the list. Suzanne Hanford.
We're going in order.
Yeah, I'm just going to take right here from the list.
I have one short thing to say before I get started, and I'd like you to know that we did have a discussion, and our first beginning before you announced that you're going to let the landowners speak was that, I'm going to read this. I would like to begin as spokesman for a large group of concerned residents who, for many months and hours, have expressed our concern before this board in getting the word out to the public. Since we've had an unofficial say for nearly 4 months now, we would like to yield the floor first to the 5 landowners who have requested this zone change. Out of respect for their rights as landowners and/or residents, we wish to let them have their say without intimidation, as we had hoped to have our many questions and concerns addressed right up front. Just for the record, we really wanted to do that. I thank you, Mr. Dalton, for doing that. And as you correctly stated, my name is Suzanne, not Susan Hanford. In order to be certain that all of our concerns are on the official record, I'm going to briefly review, at the request of many people, some important things from past meetings, as Mr. Dalton has stated that they will not be included in this record unless we bring it up again this evening. To start, I wish to enter into the record some signed petitions from nearly 300 residents who are opposed to this zone change, and briefly point out that there were many more people that we spoke to who were afraid to have their name recorded because of the fear of retribution by this board and others involved in this zone change process. I would like to next address that very issue of intimidation. A quote from our supervisor says that we are, quote, attempting to intimidate this board, unquote, without letting others have their say. That was never our intention, Mr. Dalton, and I consider it a cheap shot. If going to board meetings and voicing our concerns is intimidating, you're in the wrong business. We have asked questions at every and each meeting as to the intent of these changes. We requested that the residents be given proper notice so that they could be informed, and would have welcomed a response from anyone right from the start. However, let me review the intimidation, harassment, vandalism, and add to it slander that we have endured as homeowners because of our concern and an attempt to let people know what was going on. First,
I think you'll all remember the smashed and broken sign that we brought before the board and was destroyed within 5 minutes of posting it. Right over on the wall there, in case someone hasn't seen it. Who had something to hide? Why was that taken down? It was not a personal statement. It was basically letting people know, telling them when the meetings were. Second, a sign that was posted in front of Mr. Cavanos' house on the Nider River Road, just a few yards down from our informational picket. It was posted by his son, who threatened those, myself included, who took photos of it saying, get away from my sign. He thereby slandered approximately 30 people, including children and babies. And I think you all remember when I shared that photo with you, and I have more with you tonight. This was a sign that was posted actually on a stop ahead sign, which I think is probably a town sign, and it says, yield to the homosexuals at the end of the road. I have a lot of copies if someone would like to see that, including the original photo, which Mr. Dalton, you have. Number 3, destruction and outright theft of any and all informational signs posted on County Route 10 or Center Road. Number 4, an alleged menacing incident by an individual, all while he was sitting as a member of our town planning board and county planning board, and at that time chairman of the Republican committee. And also while he was in the process of having his own piece of land in the same area zoned commercial as well. I personally consider that a clear conflict of interest. He then, at county planning, according to reports, said that he didn't know anything about this zone change. Perhaps he should have read the sign that was ripped down. Number 5, we've been ridiculed and labeled in the press as, quote, anti-development, but never having been interviewed for any of the stories. All the quotes were from town board members and, again, quote, Republican leaders. Number 6, being yelled at by a member of this board for making the issue political. How could it not be? This is an election year, and it is now an election issue. We did not ask for this controversy, nor did we create it as has been charged. We wanted this board, the ones who were making this decision, to know how the majority of the residents in this affected area and those who travel through it felt. You are elected to represent the people. We're not unreasonable people. We don't like having crowbars swung at our heads. We don't like being called homosexuals for taking a stand. That's not even related to a zone change. If somebody knows how it is, let me know. There are so many legitimate reasons that this zone should not be placed in this area. All of our arguments have been justified by county planning, and indeed by every comprehensive plan passed or proposed by this town. We furthermore are not opposed to development. That is a catchphrase that is commonly used to hide behind. Development should be done properly, with forethought for the years ahead, for the good of all of the town, not for political gain, not to line the pockets of a few individuals, not to assist a planning board member who wishes to develop commercial on his land. Let's talk reality. Traffic, environment, historical significance, rural character, and a host of other issues that are addressed with the county planning board and indeed the secret process. I urge this board to vote this down, not only legally but morally. You know how the residents feel, and you've known for many months. County planning has backed up our arguments, and we're requesting that you vote now, before the election, not after you have your numbers. I have one other thing I'd like to add, and if this had continued as an agricultural zone, as was suggested, you're right, we wouldn't have moved to the town of Schroppel, nor would most of our neighbors, and you would not have had all that current existing tax base. If the farmers wanted the area to stay agricultural, they were certainly free to petition that board at that time, and we certainly have nothing to do with that. I have a brief personal observation, and I've seen this process from many sides, both as a committee woman, as the spouse of a board member, and as a citizen trying to be heard. I know all about the games and who plays them. I'd like to know what's happened to our town, where many people in my neighborhood fear for their safety, for having a voice, where we're truly concerned about calling the sheriff's department and whether or not they'll respond and take our fears seriously, where politics is involved in every aspect of our lives, and where every time there's an election or a public issue, we are told to keep our heads down, watch for strange cars in the neighborhood, and keep up our fire insurance. Again, we did not create this controversy. It wasn't personal, and we'd be happy to have our neighborhood back to normal and feel safe and not fear retribution. Please represent the people that you were elected to serve. Thank you.
Andrews?
You read my letter earlier, so I don't have a whole lot more to add, but after listening to one of the gentlemen earlier tonight, I'd like to know why we would have to rezone to C2 in order to get public utilities if people in the area feel they need it. I don't see what rezoning as commercial has to do with getting sewer systems or water, public water, further north. Whether I agree or disagree with either of those, I still don't see why we would have to rezone to commercial to do that. Thank you.
Dave Hammer?
I'd love to speak now, but I believe the chief is here, and I know he wants to speak, and I don't, obviously there's a lot of people on the list, and I obviously still want to speak, but I would like to, at least at this point in time, yield to the chief and let him speak. If he doesn't want to spend a couple hours here, he has that option. That's all right.
Fine. Chief?
Maybe go ahead and use that microphone.
Sacred stuff with me, magic. Also brought a telephone number for state police. Also brought something that has made an agreement with your people and mine. It's called a two-row waffle, meaning your government and your people reside on one side, and my people and my government reside on the other. We should go down life's road together, but we shall work together also. Donnie. Also brought something here which you know about. It's called the Canandaigua Treaty. This is between your people and my people, who sat down in Canandaigua and made a treaty, saying we should work together. And amongst these are your 13 colonies. How long ago was that? What are the 13 colonies? Why do they have 13 stripes in their flag? Where did they get the 13 from? I'll show you in a while. This is what we call the Hiawatha Belt, or it's also known as the Peace Belt. Okay? In the center is the prettiest people on earth, the Onondagas, which I am part of. On the side towards me is what we call the older brothers, would be the Mohawks and the Senecas. And on the other side would be the younger brothers. Would be the Oneidas and the Cayugas, okay? And in the middle again is the prettiest people, the Onondagas. And again, about your 13 people, right? It's called a Tattadaho belt, meaning our head chief who had passed away last year. This is his belt, from your people to our people. And on there is the what? You should know, you guys had history, or did you leave us out in your history? It's called the 13 colonies again. And this is called the covenant change between your people and mine. We should do this every year, polish this up, meaning we gotta go over our treaties with you people. Let's polish these treaties up and agreements, okay? Say yeah. Oh, what I'm here for is, the person that owns the Schroppel mansion. My people used to work for whoever owned that. I think his name was Schroppel, wasn't it? Well, my people used to work for him a long, long time. And there's a cemetery or grave mound there, not far from there. And I was wondering that I came over there at the Schroppel mansion, and he was good enough to say we could test the soil there. And we sanded the soil, we screened it, and we came out with 45 different types of flint. Now listen, 45 different types. Not one, 45. So there must have been a whole bunch of traffic there at one time. You understand what I mean? And now they tell me I cannot be a citizen of your country. Why? Well, I can't be a citizen of my country. Why? Because you have a political system that I'm supposed to stay on one side and you're to stay on the other, right? Now, we don't interfere with that. I'm saying I'm going along with it. But there's a gentleman here said he had this property or whatever, I don't know, 35 years? I'd say we've been here 35 million years. There's even elephants here. So I don't know why he says this is his property. I mean, where does he get the idea that it is his property? With my people, there's no such thing as selling land. The land belongs to everybody. And you, the women, are the keepers of this land. And you take it from my people, the women are the leaders. They pick me and they can throw me out. Not by the road or nothing, but they come and grab me by the hair and throw me out. That's how quick their system is. And these people here got to work for you people. I work for my people. These people got to work for your people. You rule. You tell them what to do. They don't tell you what to do. You tell them. We have to stay here all night. I know at council we have to stay there all night till it's resolved. Now these people can stay here all night if they have to. And I'll stay with them if they have to. But this is good. I like to see this. You women here, especially the one in the mid back there. If you're not married, let me know. And I know you got some good people here. And I know you understand it. I know you want to work together because I want to try to preserve this river. Along this river, my people used to reside. Right now, I'm working on a river called Susquehanna. Everybody knows where that is. It runs in Pennsylvania and New York State. Now, I'm getting a treaty together that New York people and the Pennsylvania people will work together to try to save this river. And it's my people travel up and down that river, all the way down to the Chesapeake Bay. And I'm working to try to preserve that river. And nowadays, they call me and say, down in the Chesapeake Bay, all the fish are swimming backwards or something. They turn up this way. I know fish don't swim that way. Something's wrong, right? The fish are all dying, and you can't even touch them. So we had to go down there and say, we had to have a ceremony to see what's wrong with those fish. You have scientists that can tell us wrong. Is it us? We're putting something in the water that's destroying our people, our fish. And what we say, the leader of all fish is what? Nawanhunda. Please say that. Nawanhunda. And what fish is that? There's what they call a river by that name over here somewhere, called Salmon River. But the leader is the salmon and the trout. Nawanhunda. The reason why we call him Nawanhunda is you watch. He doesn't go like this. He's going like this. Because he grabs the stream in his mouth. That's the name of the fish that we gave to trout and the salmon. Nawanhunda. Say it. Right, boy, you're going to be in my tribe. No taxes. So this is what we... Now, I'm from the turtle clan. And I had, last time I was here, I brought a turtle. I said, that's how long we've been here. We used to talk, we got a song for the turtle, we got a dance for the turtle, and we have a clan, turtle clan. So we follow, how old are they? How old are turtles? Are they before the dinosaur, or? I think they are. I think they predate the dinosaur. But this is it. This is what it says. We just got through with it on our home thing. We have to go to listen to this. They're telling us, my people, to please listen now. Listen to your ways of your ancestors. Listen, please listen. It's telling how we're going to preserve Mother Earth. So we can work together and try to preserve Mother Earth. And with the women's help and you people too, and you other guys, where's this country called Homo something? What country is that? Or where did people come from? And she called them, I know the last part, sex or something. But the first part, where did they come from? Homo land. Where is that? Ireland? Czechoslovakia? Newfoundland? Nobody knows where Homo land is. But we got to get along with everybody. Maybe that's a clan somewhere. Could be, huh? But let's try to work together. And I want you people to help me to try to preserve the sites along the river. And I really appreciate your help. And I'll make sure that we'll have people coming down the river with canoes. And we should celebrate because of what we call Twisaseheno, are the thunder people. And they will come and help us because the Creator gave them a duty. And we thank them every time we hear them sing. They sing every summer. And they sing and make funny noises. The trees wouldn't turn green. The grass wouldn't turn green. The rivers wouldn't come clean. And it cleanses Mother Earth. So let's work together. And let's do something for Mother Earth. Let's clean up her blood lanes, meaning the rivers. Let's clean them up. Look what's happened. I remember years and years ago, we used to go fishing. I could go down there and take a drink right out of the river. Can you do it nowadays? No. Used to go hunting up in the woods, in the forest, and go lay down and take a drink. Can't do it nowadays. But my grandmother still says, you listen now. You all have grandmothers and grandpas. They say, open the door and listen. You have the forest is talking. The trees are talking, and yet the trees and all the different types of trees, they get along, right? You don't see them arguing over space. They all getting along, they all turn green. And look how pretty they are tonight. The worst tree they got, and nobody likes it. It's called sumac. And you go out there, when is the prettiest one right now? With the leaf, and it's the sumac. You look out there, and you find out that the sumac is really, really pretty. And yet, people don't like it. But there is medicine there. The Creator gave us all this stuff. So let's try to preserve it. Like this guy says, he owns some land somewhere. I'm wondering how much land I owned or still own. We'll try to find out one of these days. It's called land claim. But I want you to be part of my clan. No taxes, but you're gonna have, in the winter, you're gonna get your shovel out and shovel the snow. In the summer, you're gonna get your lawnmower out and cut the grass. We all have a duty to cleanse Mother Earth, make it shiny and new. So can we do that? Yes. I want to hear yes. Yes. But when we have a meeting, we say, Tonio Duke and Guani Goa. Can you go ahead and water? Let us all minds become one. And that's when all our chiefs say, yes, which is right. Let us minds become one. We'll all become one. We'll all think the same. Okay? This is what I'm after. And I want you people to help me to serve Mother Earth. And we can start by what? You know, this guy wants a zone change, this guy wants another zone change. Let's correct it. Like we say, how we have our ceremonies, we caress Mother Earth. We probably head her up a little bit. And you people are just looking down my way. You say, oh, say, hey, God, what? Our mother, we have a moon, you call our mother. And she controls you, the women control. This is your sign is that moon. She controls everything. She controls Mother Earth. She controls the tides, everything, the seasons, the way people grow and the plants grow. That's Mother Earth working together with the different things that the Creator has in. This must be done. And He gave us all duties, instructions. But a lot of times we forget. But the instructions He gave to the Sunday people, they still carry on. He gave the Northern instructions, they still carry on. But it's us. We're neglecting Mother Earth. So let's work together and try to save whatever we can. Now you say commercial, I don't know, I see a lot of commercials on a little, I got a little disc, I get 78 stations or something like that. But every time you look, you say no commercial, but every time you look on there, there's a commercial. Now you got me drooling, you know. And there's some people I know, like this lady, I want to marry her. Or she wants to marry me, I think. She's trying to hit on me, you know. It's when she came in and she was trying to hit on me. Right? But she's all right. I met her before over at the mansion. She wanted to move in the mansion. But I'm glad to come here to say something to you people. But like I said, these people work for you. You don't work for them. You put them there, you can take them out. Like my client. I'm supposed to have some company here by the name of Doug Armstrong and Mr. Pittman. Are they here? He abandoned me, huh? There are two archaeologists from Syracuse University, and they're out here to help me. And I appreciate their help. And I also appreciate the people that came over. Mr. Henry, I think he's got a lot to say. But I'm glad to be here, and I'm saying that what I'll do say is, the one Dan yes I'll go in. And the go on it, Tino ha. Can I get out? The one Dan yes up and hand. The one Dan yes down in. Six hours long. The one Dan yes up and hand. Also, the how he goes to do it, the one Dan yes up. What I did say was, my clan mothers, my chiefs, the children and the young men from my nation send their greetings and thanksgiving to all of you. And also, what we call them, the Harigosadunje, the seventh generation are sending their greetings to you. When we make a decision tonight, let the seventh generation be part of it. Let's do it for them, not us. Let them have water. Let them tonight we make a decision for those people. It's called Harigosadunje. Can you say it? Meaning the coming generation, the seventh one. This is what we're here for, to make a decision for them. And let them have fresh air. Let them have clean water, green grass where they won't be. I guess as long as the grass grows and something grows, it's what we say about our trees. So I think we can work together. We're here on Mother Earth.
Highway Chief. Chief, thank you for coming, and that lady in red is my wife. I'm already in trouble.
Oh, this one? This one?
Oh, no, I think you're talking about the...
That's not the one I seen you with.
I guess I better start now. First of all, before I get started here real quick, again, I'm going to remind you again, because not all of you have been here, but Miss Fran, I'd like you to look out here. These are the neighbors. These are the landowners. Miss Fran said her main concern was for the property owners out there, not the people who live in the neighborhood. And Mr. Fadden here is going to enjoy this, because I'm going to verify quite a bit of what he just said. To begin with, since not all of us are experts in planning or development, let me start with a simple definition from the dictionary. Infrastructure, an underlying base foundation, especially for an organization. The basic facilities, services, installations needed for functioning of a community or development. American Heritage College Dictionary. By the way, all the facts and figures are available. I'm going to start out Rhinebeck A and B, Ira A, Ranahan B. Now, these aren't names of towns in the Hudson Valley or a fine wine. These are soils which are predominant in the area under question. This information is readily available to the Soil Survey of Oswego County of New York, done by the U.S. Department of Agriculture and Cornell University. The area in question is found on plate 123, and the soil characteristics are found on page 38 and 50. In all instances, they are described as poorly drained and for the most part require artificial drainage. In fact, it states that unless they're artificially drained, the soils are not even suited for most field crops. They state the seasonal wetness, slow permeability, clay textures are limitations for non-farm use. These soils are considered subclass 3W, which means, and this is a quote, soils have severe limitations or require special conservation practices. What does this mean about this area that we're talking about? And I'm going to refer, there's 45 different tables in here, but we're going to refer to the two that impact us the most. One is building and development, table 7, page 73. Discussing commercial limitations are so unfavorable or difficult to overcome that major increase in construction efforts, special design, or intensive maintenance is required. Sanitary facilities, which is the other concern here of all of us, not only Mr. Fadden, but all the residents in the area. Table 8, page 74, soil properties so unfavorable or so difficult to overcome that major soil reclamation, special designs or intensive maintenance is required. In addition, part of this project is over the water source of approximately 75% of the people of this town, the Sand Ridge Aquifer. Special considerations have to be taken to ensure we do not pollute this water source. That's assuming you're not trying to intentionally pollute the aquifer. These two factors alone negate the seeker sent out to count. Stating, I'm going to do a quick review of seeker. Somebody else is going to probably deal in this a little bit in more in depth, but I'm just going to list things. One, no change. This is what was given to county. There's no change in project site, no construction of paved parking areas. Contractors will not exceed 1 year. No impact on water or drainage in the area. No impact on the surface and groundwater quality or quantity. No impact or alteration of drainage or flow. No impact on the aesthetics resources, the change in character in the area. No impact on historical or archaeological resources. No effect on existing transportation. No effect on noise. No effect on public health and safety. No impact on growth or character of the community or neighborhood. And finally, is there likely to be any public controversy considering this? This was not checked. Somehow this was overlooked. But as we all know, things can be overlooked. Now it's time for some questions and statements and a little math. Now you can decide, anybody who's been here for any length of time, who made the statements. But these, for the most part, are almost direct quotes. The statement, the taxes we give to the commercial property offset our tax losses and costs of developing the area. False. I talked with the assessor of the town of Clay. Sat down and asked him what the assessed value of Great Northern Mall is. They're not at full value assessment. He told me that the assessed value is $1,450,000, but you have to divide that in order to get the full value assessment by 0.0617. So the figure, what Great Northern Mall is worth, is $23,500,810. We all know whatever they put in there is not going to be as vast. It's not going to be that big, and obviously, we're not going to have that type of assessed value. But we're going to assume tonight that we are. What would that give us? That for $23 million, that would give us approximately $59,000 in town revenues. Now let's do some real math here. This is water only. And I'll get to the essence of this whole discussion, but this is just water, no sewer. Let's do the math, water only. Immediately, we lose $100,000 per year. Now, I know our supervisor, and this is true, says, oh, it's going to be spread over 7 years. The bottom line is we still lose $100,000 a year. Engineering costs, or the cost of just bringing the water, okay, we lose $100,000 a year in taxes from Aqua. The engineering, just to bring the water across the bridge, just across the bridge, is $100,000, plus the cost of engineering, pipe construction, and the 5% attorney fees to bring the water only 200 yards past the Nice and Easy, with total in excess of $150,000. Now we could buy this money. This money would only cost us $35,609.46 a year. And that's based on a 2% below prime rate lending rate, which I think is about what municipalities get. So let's do some summation so far. Just for water, just for one development, just for this development. Revenues, plus $59,000. Loss in taxes, minus $100,000. Cost of water, $36,610 per year. That's, I did it per year so it would look more favorable. That's a net gain, water only, of minus $76,610 a year. Now, I can't give you any estimations on what it's going to cost to upgrade the road. But I can tell you one thing, because I sat on the board, and we were squirming in our seats at the end of that fiscal year because the county topped Center Road 1/4 mile. The cost for just topping Center Road 1/4 mile exceeded $45,000. Just imagine the cost of the total road reconstruction, which would be required to carry 25,000 vehicles a day to this complex. Look at Morgan Road, look at the time, look at the money, and just try to fathom the imagination. It took them a week to top, or less than a week to top Center Road. Now let's do a real quick look at sewer. a package plant. There's been some discussion. Maybe there's a package plant going up at the end of Elm Street. This is just a package plant. You have to bring in some of the homes, otherwise the business or the retail complex will get stuck with the whole thing. So based on what we did for PUD, this would fall in the neighborhood of just the package plant, $1.25 million. Now that's for 80 plus homes or 80 plus units, so that would be the retail on about 50 homes. The retail bond payment, because the life expectancy of a package unit is between 10 and 15 years, and I'll give it to you for 30 years if we were stupid enough to bond it for 30 years, but based on 10-year at 2% below prime rate, the cost would be $128,703.45 per year, the average of $2,574 per unit. That's per property unit. The cost of running the water and sewer lines, I didn't include any of those costs, but I want you to use your imagination. The cost of running water and sewer lines would be at least $9 a linear foot frontage. So for every foot of your frontage, you pay $9. Any owner of a farmland would be broke after the first year of implementation. This is prohibitive, and when you applied it to New York State, they would not allow it. This is one of the problems we've discussed for years. It's too prohibitive. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize when you begin adding all the additional costs of just the basic infrastructure required, it would be cost inhibitive to all the taxpayers of this town, because it's not just us. You couldn't justify the cost for out there. You'd have to spread these costs across the whole town. Furthermore, I don't know, but I've been in this business long enough. Furthermore, in order to attract businesses or industry into the area, more often than not, the municipality gives tax incentives. Take a look at our industrial park. What do we receive in taxes from that development? Here's the next statement. We're only doing this to make the land more marketable. Wrong. This is not a legitimate reason for any zone change, legally or otherwise. You would have to prove financial hardship and needing to make a quick buck off something so you can retire to Maine or Florida is not a justifiable rationale for any zone change. Statement. This is what I love, because I sit on the planning board in this town. The planning board has control on what goes there. Wrong. This is the biggest cop-out ever, and it's used all the time. Your town board, the town board, these people up here, determine the use, not the planning board. The planning board only makes sure that whatever the use is, it's within code. They have absolutely no power in determining what goes in and cannot stop anything that meets code. Statement. We're only changing the zone on the land. It doesn't mean anything. Wrong. You are changing the entire character of its use. The entire character of the area. As soon as you change the use, you have to assume the owner or future owners are going to utilize it to the fullest. Again, as usual, we have put the cart before the horse. You insist on developing an area the most expensive for the taxpayer and the businesses. If the area ever gets developed enough so we can afford these services, then this should be considered. You're only creating an area destined to fail. You will destroy it for its present use, residential, and when the commercial fails, you'll have nothing but an area that no one wants to live in. We can put up on the entrance, "Welcome to Schroppel." eyesore of Oswego County. David Week.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, my name is David Wheat, and I reside at 76 Center Road in the town of Schroppel. My property backs up to Mr. Fadden's property, and I would like to state that I'm opposed to this rezoning request. Dave Hanford has already mentioned this state environmental quality review. I looked at it, and I can't believe the way that it's filled out. Somebody from someplace other than the town of Schroppel must have filled it out, because there are inaccuracies and misinformation, and I would like to look at some of these inaccuracies. First of all, in the site description, it says the total acreage is approximately 84 acres. I have no problem with that, but they say that all of that 84 acres is residential. Well, that's the use right now? No, that's not the use right now. 53 acres in one plot and 19 acres in another plot is meadowland, brushland, lightly forested area. It is not, in any sense, residential. Dave Hanford also mentioned the soil types in the area. That was not even checked. Well-drained, moderately well-drained, poorly drained, wasn't even checked. I don't think they want people to look at that. They also ask, what is the depth of the water table in feet? They put NA. I've done some construction on my property, dug footers for a deck, and as soon as I get down 3-4 feet, the hole fills with water, at least to a foot depth, most all the time of the year, except perhaps July, August, and September. So there is a problem with the water table. The water table is very close to the surface, at least on my property, and I'm assuming on the property in back of me. I've gone walking back there in the springtime. It's very wet on the surface, so I have to assume that the water table is very close to the surface. They say, the question asks, is the site located over a primary, principal, or sole source aquifer? They check, no. They say, they ask, is the site served by existing public utilities? And they checked, yes. Electricity, public utility, certainly. I don't know what other public utilities. I'm not even sure that the gas goes up County Route 10. I know it comes up Center Road. No public utilities except. Under the project description, all of the blanks in the physical dimensions and scale are answered not available, not applicable, or unknown. I'm not sure whether N/A is not available or not applicable, but that's what it says. I do not believe that information on project dimensions and scale are unknown by the board. They just won't disclose it to hide the way the area would be impacted. But if it's true that you don't know how the land is going to be used, then how can you claim to know the answers to this question? Is subsurface liquid waste disposal involved? No. Will the project generate solid waste? No. Will the project involve the disposal of solid waste? No. Will the project routinely produce odors more than 1 hour per day? No. Will the project produce operating noise exceeding the local ambient noise level? No. Will the project result in an increase in energy use? No. Does the project involve local, state, or federal funding? No. But if our tax money is used to pay for some of the development of roads perhaps, or water or sewer. Isn't that local planning? In the zone planning information section, these questions cause some problems in my mind. Is the proposed action consistent with recommended uses in adopted local land use plans? And they say yes. But in the 1974, I believe, master plan, development plan, and also in the 96 plan, that neither of these are currently in force or adopted, but neither one of these plans mention anything about commercial use of this southern end of the town of Schroppel. The question asks, what are the predominant land uses and zoning classification within 1/4 mile radius of proposed action? They say residential, industrial, and commercial. Well, I guess that part of it is true, because there is some of that in all of that area. But is the proposed action compatible with adjoining land uses within 1/4 mile? They say yes. Is residential area compatible with commercial? I'm not sure that it is. Will the proposed action require any authorization for the formation of a sewer or water district? No. No. What do you... Interesting question. Will a proposed action create a demand for any community-provided services, recreation, education, police, fire protection? If there's anything that's over 2 stories high, I believe that Phoenix has the appropriate equipment to fight that kind of a fire. Codnoy Fire Department does not. Besides, where is the fire company going to get water from? Are they going to lay lines down to the river? How long is that going to take? Where do you find a hydrant in that area? Let's look at this environmental statement as if you, the board, really don't know the dimensions and scale of the development. Then this form should have been filled out for the maximum development allowed under the proposed zone change. Because once the zone change is made, you have allowed anything and everything described under that classification. Even if you say it needs site plan approval, that means that you can only enforce the details of the building codes. The developer does not need an okay to build any of the allowed businesses. That's covered in the zone change.
Randy, wait.
My name is Randy Lee. I too live at 76 Center Road on the same property backing on Mr. Fadden's property. I would like to continue looking at the State Environmental Quality Review. I'm going to talk about Part 2. Part 2 of this is called Project Impacts and Their Magnitude. It discusses what effect the project would have on our town. And the directions for this part clearly state, these are the directions for the person filling this report out. The reviewer should be guided by the question, have my responses and determinations been reasonable? And further down, and it's not asking them to be an expert analyst, it's just saying reasonable. And as you go down through the directions, it also says you have to answer each part, and it says very clearly, answer yes if there will be any, and any is in boldface. You answer yes if there will be any impact. And the next part of the directions say that maybe answers should be considered as yes answers. Now, I'm not going to go through all the sections of this, but I would like to speak to a few of them. The board has stated in this document that none of the 19 evaluated areas of possible impact would be, or none of these possible areas would be impacted by this project. And they've decided that there will be no impact. I would like to look first at the impact on water in the town. Now it asks a question, a yes/no question, and then it gives some examples of the types of things that might be considered problems that need to be considered. Will the proposed action affect surface or groundwater quality or quantity? And this is a part of the survey that Dave Hanford had spoken a little bit generally about before. Will it affect surface or groundwater quality or quantity? No. It talks about a possible problem, construction or operation causing any contamination of a water supply system. Well, it would be possibly contaminating the Sandridge Aquifer if you're building on it. Would liquid effluent be conveyed off the site to facilities which presently do not exist or have inadequate capacity? That certainly seems possible, and that didn't alert them to the fact that the question should not be answered with a no. Proposed action might require the storage of petroleum or chemical products greater than 1,100 gallons. If we have a gas station, that's going to be way exceeded, and that's allowable under the zone change. Proposed action locates commercial and/or industrial uses which may require new or expansion of existing waste treatment and/or storage facilities. That didn't alert any answer that there would be a possible impact. Will proposed, and then we go on to the next area of impact underwater. Will the proposed action alter drainage flow or patterns of surface water runoff? No. Here, if we have building up of land to build land up above the water table, assuming that it's high enough. If it's not high enough to build on the water, let me start again. If the water table is too close to the surface to build on the way it exists, you can fill. If you fill, then you've raised the land up, and the paving for parking lots is in addition to that raised land would cause runoff that would cause additional runoff into the residential areas around it. Dave mentioned some of the air and other impact areas there. Going on to impact on aesthetic resources. Will proposed action affect aesthetic resources? No. And one of the alerts would be proposed land uses or project components obviously different from or in sharp contrast to current surrounding land use patterns, whether man-made or natural. That area does not have a shopping center anywhere near it right now. Impact on historical and archaeological resources, no impact. Open space and recreation, no impact. Impact on transportation. Will there be an effect to existing transportation systems? No. And under the alerts was one that said, would the proposed action result in major traffic problems? Well, we've already got some traffic problems and nothing's built there at all. Noise and odor impacts. Will there be objectionable odors, noise, or vibration as a result of the proposed action? No. And now down in the alerts are the things that might be considered to saying yes. Odors will occur routinely, more than 1 hour per day. All we need for some really rotten odors is to have a Burger King on that road, or the gas station fumes, traffic. Proposed action will produce operating noise exceeding the local ambient noise levels for noise outside of structures. Proposed action will remove natural barriers that would act as a noise screen, and that would certainly be true for many of the properties on Center Road. But in addition to that, the odor and noise levels, if you have a drive-through window for a burger joint of any kind, you've got the drive-through voices, you've got exterior PA systems on Kmart's,
you got, all that kind of stuff. Plus you have the traffic vibrations and noise, and also their larger stores have air conditioning or ventilating systems that run year-round, and they're mounted on the outside of the building and are very noisy. Impact on public health. And then we come over to impact on growth and character of community or neighborhood. Will proposed action affect the character of the existing community? And the answer was no. The municipal, these are some of the alerts that might have tipped them off that might be an inappropriate answer. The municipal budget for capital expenditures or operating services will increase by more than 5% per year as a result of this project. Well, if we end up having to build roads and put sewers and water lines in, it might be even more than that. I really don't have the numbers. Dave was much better about that than I would be. Development will create a demand for additional community services, such as the fire and police that have already been mentioned. Proposed action will set an important precedent for future projects. You're darn right. It would open up the precedent of having a commercial area right along that whole road, which we've heard before by several other people say is not in accordance with the long-term interest for our town. Not that any of us are against growth and development, but this has been named as an inappropriate area. And then there are two ways of evaluating number 19, and Dave had one way and I have another. The question was, is there likely to be public controversy related to potential adverse environmental impacts? And that part was not answered. And I believe that the persons who decided to fill this form out were not just overlooking this question, but that they arrogantly did not consider us worth bothering to decide what an answer would be to that question. So I think that our needs and what we want have not been considered very much at all, if at all, in this. Now you might ask why this report would be filled out so inaccurately, because I certainly asked that myself. And one of the big reasons is that if this report could have gotten through Oswego County without the alert going up, then this zone change could have been, a lot of this wouldn't have been happening, that a simple majority of this board would have been able to pass this zone change. However, because it was so blatantly inaccurate, Oswego County rejected it, and now it has to be majority plus one, which at this point the board does not have. So this will be delayed, if there's any way to do it, until a likely person will be on the board after Election Day. So we might ask whether that's, whether there's any other reason other than that why the vote couldn't be taken any sooner. And also, if there were yes answers in sections of this report, then there was an evaluation part 3 that would have had to have been filled out. Well, actually, as it stands now, a complete environmental action report is going to have to be done because Oswego County rejected this report or this proposal. Also, this is just kind of a side thing. If this should happen to go through, I think that some of us would be interested in finding out whether or not the persons who are asking for this zone change would be fully taxed at that new rate from the day that zone change took place.
Jim Lawson?
Jim had to leave.
Okay. John Green?
Supervisor Dalton, members of the board, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming out here to support us tonight. My name is John Green. I live at 72 Center Road in the town of Schroppel. I've been your neighbor for 12 years. It's nice to meet you. I'd like to begin tonight by talking about the zone change and what a C2 area, possible uses of what a C2 area are, because we've been talking about that a lot tonight, and that really hasn't been brought out what a C2 area would entail versus residential. One thing to understand here is that when dealing with a zone change, you have to assume that the maximum amount of usage out of that land will be used. So, and also zone change, and C2 in the zone change is very vague, so some examples probably have to be given. By right now, C2, farming, retail, sale of agricultural products, and garage sales, which basically goes on there. That's what we have right now. That's with allowed by right. But with planning board, that's what we have now. But with planning board approval for C2, you could have boarding houses, churches, daycare centers, medical centers. Now, a medical center could be anything from a drive up to a full-blown hospital. You could put a hospital there. Cultural facilities, meaning museums, a public utility, or transportation, means they could put the Oswego County version of the Central Bus Garage there if they wanted to. Riding academies, any retail business. Now, retail business obviously can be anything from the corner drugstore to Dave Brothers, if they want to put that in there. Laundry services, restaurants, bars, nightclubs. I didn't want to think about that. Parking lots, gas stations. So if they do go to C2, there's no way they could stop a gas station from going in there. Auto shops, equipment rental or sales, dry cleaners, drive-ins, motels, nurseries, recreation centers, Sports Star 2000, if they wanted to. Nothing we can do about it. Shopping centers, I think that's the big scary one we're all worried about, a full mall, strip mall, anything like that. Or soil mining, which I don't think anybody has to worry about too much. While I'm speaking, I'm going to be paraphrasing out of Monday, October 13th, 1997's Post Standard. It's an article that was written by Scott Scanlon. A while back, Mr. Fed, you said the golf course that you had was disapproved, and I believe that was due to infrastructure. I may be wrong on that, and I stand corrected if I am. And I just want to know what has changed with our infrastructure that would make it more accessible. I mean, I listen to you speak, and I think you speak very eloquently, but you said time after time after time the reason why you couldn't sell your property is because you couldn't get a perk test. I mean, it's not going to change now. A perk test is not going to happen now for commercial as well as residential that we have out there. I don't know. You said you want to bring in water and sewer. I think in the paper here you said you plan to attend the meeting and urge the town officials to bring water and sewer services to properties along County Route 10, and you want us to widen the road as it's been done across the Nider River on Morgan Road in the town of Clay. I think it's already been stated that that's really going to be a cost-prohibitive thing for us to do. To put anything commercial right next to my house and then ask me to pay for the things to go in there, I think is just grossly unfair for me. Also, on Route 104 in Oswego was said in here, it says the county planners pointed out the property in question was roughly the size swath of land in the city of Oswego that contained 6 restaurants, 2 ice cream shops, 3 shopping plazas, and a Walmart. They said that no two-lane county road could withstand such intense development. And I agree with them. The thing is, I live there. I've lived there for 12 years. My wife and I have put a ton of money into our house. The reason why we can, matter of fact, I just planted a shrub yesterday, or the day before, that my mother gave me, and the reason why I could do such a thing is because tons and tons of topsoil have been added there so that we could enjoy our life there. And I expect that our children are going to enjoy our life there, and our grandchildren are going to enjoy our life there. We want to make sure it's a place where they can go, and a place where they can embrace, like I've been able to do with my family. To the board, some of the things that have been said, I'm not here to intimidate anyone. I'm here to educate, and I know Mr. Dalton is an educator. You can accept that and embrace that. One thing that was said in an early meeting by Mr. Cassone is that this was disapproved because it was an all-or-nothing proposition to make this zone change go through, that the board, if they disapprove it, maybe could suggest to landowners what they could do. I think that is absolutely wrong. I don't think this board should suggest anything, because if they do and the landowners come back, I don't think the board could disapprove something that they suggested. I think you should vote no. And I think if they want to do something else, that falls in their court. Repeating on some other things that have been said, what's the town going to do to attract businesses if this is commercial? Are they going to give tax breaks? I think that's, shooting ourselves in the foot. It makes no sense. Our new sales tax basically makes us on a power down in Onondaga County. There's no other reason for people to come here. If we look at Market Fair North, the Ark's place, Ben Franklin's have gone. Has anybody looked into that? Why have they left? I mean, what do we have to offer that they didn't have there? Except the longer drive, the more of I think this whole thing is a mistake on face value. I know you're intelligent folks up here, and I know that you can listen to reason. I hope you're understanding what we're saying. Mr. Pitt, I'm sorry you weren't here before, because if you attack Joanne, I think you're making a mistake, because I think she's the only one with a lock here. Board members, you have some petitions from 5 people, and you also have petitions that have 300. And I think 300 to 5, I'm almost thought being that that's pretty good odds, and I think you ought to go with the people that you're been elected to represent.
Steve LeFave.
I have a few pieces of paper. I only had 3 copies for you, so you can look through it. Before I start with my statements, I'd like to ask if all the board members are here. Are these all the people that are going to vote on this? Or do you plan on appointing somebody after this public hearing is over? Mr. Dalton? I asked the question.
The question is that it's on the agenda, tonight's agenda.
Okay, do you plan, are all the board members present, or do you plan to appoint somebody to make a decision after this public hearing?
It's on the agenda tonight.
To appoint somebody?
No, if you look at the agenda, the question of the zone change is on the agenda. So at that time,
and I think I'm not speaking for just myself, but for probably the majority of the people here, that if you appoint somebody afterwards and this person is not present for this public hearing, it will be very, very unfair. Now, the papers that I gave you were papers that I received from New York State Transportation, Department of Transportation. They are traffic counts. I highlighted the dates and I highlighted the amount of traffic. The date for the one on Route 57, which was placed on the Onondaga County, Oswego County line, was done 9/19 of 95. If you look down at the bottom right corner of that first page, there's the total northbound and southbound traffic. One day, 5,587 cars on average. Route 57 has turn lanes, they have shoulders, they have traffic lights, and Oswego County felt need to put that there for a reason, because of 5,500 cars, a little over, travel that road a day. The second page is just a copy of the southbound. The first was the northbound. The third page is a chart of the hours on 57. The fourth page, this was County Route 10, 100 feet north of Schroppel's Bridge. This was taken 6/23 of 97. Would any of you people like to guess how many cars travel that road a day? We have 7,741 cars on average a day travel that road. That road has no shoulders north of Oneida River Road. No turn lanes to put businesses in so people can get in and out of safely. There's 3-foot ditches on each side of the road. There's no traffic lights and very, very few street lights. County Route 10 in its condition now can no way handle 25,000 cars a day. Plus, the land in question is approximately 4 miles away from any interstate. which means that future businesses would have to draw consumers past the Great Northern Mall, Wegmans, Chase Pickin, Walmart. What do you think the chances of that happening? County Route 10 will have to be completely redone, as Morgan Road has been redone, which means another inconvenience to the people that live there. Does any of us, the people, I did not live in the town when they redid Schroppel's Bridge, but I was told that they had to drive 12 miles around to get through there, and that traffic problem. The roads were destroyed from driving through town roads. Who's going to pay for that maintenance? Who's going to pay for the complete redoing of County Route 10? And I have a few questions for the landowners. Mrs. Green, you stated that you wanted the property to be the same on both sides. Commercial zoning, got it on the east side, you got it on the west side. What's next? How far do you want to go? Where's the divider? I want to know how far. I mean, there's a lot of land west of County Route 10. We can continue this. We can just keep going and chopping and chopping and chopping. People live there. People are setting up lights there. And Mr. Wright, I believe that's right with Schroppel. According to what I've seen in this 239 review, they have statements of what they're kind of proposing to put in there, which would go to like car wash, gas stations, strip malls. Who's going to want to stay in a bed and breakfast that's next to a strip mall? I don't see any bed and breakfasts going up next to Great Northern Mall or Wegmans. It's not feasible. I think it's very bad. It's a very bad decision on your part to think that somebody would want to stay in a nice place like that with a Burger King and a strip mall next door. And Mr. Fadden, you said that you moved in there and you resided there. I didn't see a house on that property that you lived. You said earlier, you said I resided there.
No, I didn't say that.
Okay. And I see that the property has been completely, pretty much completely logged. It's not true. I look out in my backyard and the trees have been wiped out.
I looked at it too.
Was that done to dry the property out to make it look good for future buyers of the land?
Some money to pay taxes.
Oh, okay. Last but not least, the county said no, the sign said no, and the people say no, and we're the ones that's in charge.
Mr. DeJohn?
I'm Vicki John. I live on Twins Road. My property butts up to Mr. Fadden's property. I've lived there approximately 18 months. I've had some drainage problems with my septic system. I really don't need to go into that part of it. But this land that's being considered for zone change, I think all worst-case scenarios should be looked at. If you're going to zone this C2 for the benefit of Mr. Fadden and the other landowners, please look at what it's going to do to our community. If something should happen, if a gas station just happens to have a big leak in their tank or something and it leaks into the aquifer, what's going to happen to the water supply? I mean, these are things that really need to be looked at, and you may not be able to make a decision tonight on this. I really don't expect that to happen. But when you are making this decision, please look at that. That's basically what I'm asking. I'm not against development of any property. I'm just against something that could possibly create a major hazard for the environment. So before you vote on that, please take a look at that. Thank you.
Mona Heck?
clerk a document that I wish to have entered into the record. It's a document that the town board should be reasonably familiar with. It is the development plan for the town of Schroppel and the village of Phoenix with a date of March 1974. This development plan is old, not as old as the turtles or the trees, but it's old. However, as I read through it, it's surprisingly accurate in anticipating a lot of the changes that have taken place in the town over the past 23 years. A newer comprehensive plan has been developed, but has never been adopted. So this 1974 document remains in effect. It is all we have. That the newer plan has not been adopted may be reflective of our town government's attitude towards strategic planning and its value. However, even as this board purports to value growth for the community good, I would remind them of the foresight and the wisdom of their predecessors. Caution them to exercise their charge wisely and encourage them to reread this document very carefully. To that end, I would like to read for them and to them a couple passages. In the preface, I might add, as I read through this document, reread through this document, and also the newer comprehensive plan. The newer comprehensive plan is a very much more sophisticated community assessment. This is written in plain English by ordinary folks who were clearly concerned about the future of the town. In the preface, and I quote, often various types of information conflicted when they're discussing the development of this plan. And as has been the case throughout this planning process, community needs were put ahead of individuals. Further along, in land use plan, and I quote, Schroppel as next in line geographically, and they're talking about development as it proceeds up from Onondaga County. Schroppel as next in line geographically finds itself in a position of recipient of land boom techniques. It is an objective of the land use plan to order development to the needs of the community rather than the profit of the developer. Further down in the same section, when all known factors influencing future growth are considered, and specifically excluding planned non-growth as a possibility, a logical conclusion is that the town of Schroppel area will continue to grow and become more of a residential community. Finally, and I quote, the residential community in Kennelville Sand Ridge will, before long, need to have attendant commercial facilities oriented to this growing neighborhood. An area is suggested in the plan that is intended to discourage lineal or strip development. Commercial activity in this area should be strictly regulated in order to prevent uneconomical and unsafe commercial strip development, and thus this attitude will suggest a policy statement to the effect that the town of Schroppel is against such strip development. Through the course of time, a need for neighborhood shopping facilities will arise. 2 smaller areas are suggested in the plan at this time. When such need arises, it is suggested that commercial facility locate at or near these locations. For the benefit of my
patriots in the audience, I will show you that there is a colored document here. Mr. Tassone, I'm sure you very particularly are familiar with this tiny little red spot. This tiny little red spot, the area that is in question is sort of down here, the river. This tiny little red spot is Red Door, Tassone's, a couple of other establishments, and then there's an even teenier, tinier little red dot where the post office is. Please give consideration to your role and responsibility. Thank you.
I still reside with my wife, so we don't have to go through the address. I don't know if you all want to stretch, but this speech is just under 4 The request by all 5 parties to have a zone change from residential to commercial, all within a short period, I believe it was a week time frame, strikes me as being very peculiar. You are now going from an individual request to basically a group request, which means we are now talking about a substantial amount of land proposed for commercial development. Rather than having something on a small scale now, you now as a town board have to take into consideration, and this has been said before, a worst-case scenario for commercial use, because you have the potential of all 5 parties selling out to one buyer. And God knows what that could entail. Rather than creating a positive situation for the community, the impact of such a large commercial development in this area would be negative based on the current infrastructure, which we talked about earlier. Furthermore, this group type application suggests that the 5 parties are functioning for personal gain only, rather than what is necessary and appropriate for our community. And also, didn't the 5 parties know when they purchased their land how it was zoned originally? I can remember 20 years ago, I sat in a town meeting with Mrs. Fike, who is now deceased, who was a good neighbor and very politically involved, told me that when you buy land, it's buyer beware. You should know what you buy. In other words, you make your bed and you lie in it. That's what you bought. That's the way it was zoned. What, if any, efforts have been made to use the land in the manner for which it is currently zoned? Well, in my 22 years of being a resident, I have never witnessed a for sale sign on any of the properties under discussion. If a perk test cannot be obtained for residential, how can commercial development be supported? It also amazes me that Mr. Fadden didn't have a perk test before he purchased his property. This supports, again, to me, a no good faith, or no, this suggests no good faith effort and brings us back to the point of personal gain over the good of the community. I agree wholeheartedly with the county planning board and the majority of the residents in this community. It's not that I don't want commercial, I don't think it belongs there. Like the chief, I want the trees to continue to talk to one another. Do the right thing, vote no.
Richard Deneve.
After hearing what most people here have to say, I'll probably need to watch for strange cars in my neighborhood and off my fire insurance. I'm not sure, but I'm for the zoning change. I know a little little bit weird for us, but I look at daycare centers. You can drop your kids off on the way to and from work. Really convenient. A convenience store is exactly what it says. There are, other than 481, there are only two main routes in and out of this county. This town is a bedroom community, largely for Syracuse. And the two roads are 57, which has 80% of the traffic that County Route 10 has. The logical, reasonable place for a commercial zone is right just north of the bridge, if we're to have one in this town. That's where the traffic is. Anybody opening a business, not to insult Mr. Disson, but up in the middle of the town where his place is, or over in Poundville where the post office is, would not generally do well because it just does not have the traffic base going past it to attract people in there. Also, I look at people who complained about water or drainage problems. A sewer system would take care of the drainage problems of dampening. Someone said he's filled. If my neighbor fills, the water that would normally drain, I live along the river on Ida River Road, the water that would normally drain off the river, or off the land into the river, would now come on my property and then drain into the river, giving me septic problems, perhaps a contaminated well, and so on. The aquifer is nothing magic. The aquifer, if you can imagine a sponge sitting on a plate, you put water into the sponge gets soaked full of water, and it runs out the ends. So drive down on Ida River Road, you see several little streams going across. That land is clay. Nothing soaks through it. You won't contaminate the water except on your own property, because water doesn't soak through the ground there, as Mr. Hanford was talking about. The water is clay. Nothing. Water that perks. The reason something doesn't perk is because the ground is not permeable to water. Water runs across the top of the land and finds a little creek and flows in. If there were some drainage ditches, if there were some way of removing the water, everyone's property would be drier. Everyone would have a better life, fewer mosquitoes. The kids wouldn't have be soaked when they came in from playing outdoors. Yes.
If the ground doesn't soak up water, how come my well didn't go dry this summer?
I don't know. Maybe you cut down some trees and there were enough water left on the ground by the trees you cut down to allow it.
With all the people that put the houses in and the track,
Chris, address the board when you get your chance.
Okay. Most people who were at the edge of the aquifer, if you want to call that, on the clay like I do, can't use a dug well simply because it's not shallow enough, it's not deep enough to go below the water table. Water doesn't percolate in as fast as people take it out for doing laundry and so on. Most people down there have a drilled well down 50 or 60 feet where there's some nice water, and a lot of it. I look at small businesses like convenience stores as places for our kids to get entry-level jobs in. They're close to home, can ride a bike back home from their work. They can get into the community, get into the workforce in a normal way without having to have someone pick them up down at Chase Pickens or some other place. So I look at businesses as increasing the tax base, as not sending one kid to school and increasing school taxes in any way, and as providing convenience for not only the people who live in the neighborhood, but convenience for everybody who uses that road going up into the town from Onondaga County. And so I think it's a good thing. I think that the town board should look at the total town and the total way in which the town has developed and take that into consideration in this decision. Thank you.
Chuck Milling.
Chuck Beeling, I live right at Schroppel Bridge, right next to Nice and Easy. I'm connected this side of the project. I'm against the change. About 25 times I know of that I've almost been killed. People coming out of it Nice and Easy. And the traffic is terrible. I can see all these veins of these companies that they intend to open up, and there's going to be tons of accidents. I'm right across from the Schroppel Mansion. I'm for that. It's low traffic, and I think it would be a shame to have, like he said, a Burger King next to it. It's going to ruin the idea of that place. I just can't. Everything I heard tonight, if you take a big scale, overweighed by the people here. I'm glad to see them all sticking up. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not going to be wrong, but I know a lawyer. I know that it's not a good situation to have this here at all. And just opposed of it. My well is about 25 feet, and I pump all kinds of. I fill my swimming pool up, so there's, when he said, I go down deep, I just had to mention that. But I'm right at the end, it's like a funnel, all that 7,000 cars coming at me. And my family can tell you too, there's been a lot of times that people pull out, and, we've almost been killed. So I think it's not needed, absolutely.
Greg Schaefer.
Hi, my name is Greg Schaefer. I live at 19 Hilton Road, Phoenix. I'd like to speak in favor of the zone change on County Route 10. And since the established comprehensive zoning law is 23 years old, the change is needed in the worst way. And there are people who don't understand why we need a comprehensive plan, but that includes proper balance of residential, commercial, and industrial zones. By contrast, how many people still wear the same style of clothes as were worn in the 1970s besides our kids? It is the town board's duty to provide growth and development in the town. And I believe that this area requested for change will be beneficial for the town and the immediate area surrounding it, whether it's to bring better traffic patterns, i.e. relocating Center Road to have water and sewer brought in, but all of this needs to be done in a fashion that will suit the needs of the residents with their proper buffer areas. Not a ridiculous amount of 400 feet, as was mentioned by the county planning, but of the current 100 feet. As the county planning board's decision to turn down the request, one, the environmental concerns, no public water or sewers in the Sand Ridge Aquifer. Public water is only the length of Schroppel's bridge away. With this, let the concerned developer bring this to the area. As for sewers, they can do this also, i.e. package plants or treatment plants to support the whole area. As for the aquifer, we should protect it, but to ensure real true growth in the town and village, they both need sufficient and reliable water source, and Aqua can provide this. As for the village water, I've never heard anyone brag about it, but just complaints. Traffic. On County Route 10 is a county route just like County Route 57. According to a person on the county planning board, he did not know this. Again, if it's necessary to have traffic control devices, let the developer, i.e. like Wegmans in the town of DeWitt, Clay, and Camillus, and Great Northern Mall in the town of Clay. The developer put these in. Also, to compare the same size area to Route 104 in Oswego, that contains 6 restaurants, 2 ice cream shops, 3 shopping plazas, and a Walmart. What a dream situation. Just look at the tax base. Not one of these businesses adds to our school population, but instead adds money that we don't have to pay in school taxes. And the same benefit goes for county taxes. But the most important, look at the sales tax that would be generated. Let this consumption tax and additional property tax benefit all the people in this town, county, and state. I implore you, the elected board members, to vote in favor of this zone change. Don't let a few naysayers, and not in my backyard, sway your vote. If they don't want growth and prosperity in this area, they should purchase this property, pay the taxes, and enjoy the countryside they so desire. Thank you.
You don't live there.
I live at commercial.
Okay, right, thank you.
Where do you live?
Mary Barbera.
Right behind the food shopping center.
Thank you. Yeah. They expect. Mary?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Dalton. Chairman, members of the board, and my name is Mary Barber, and I live on Mapleview Drive, and I'm near your property, Mr. Patty. That's the road. As you know, I became interested in this topic several months ago, and I've been coming to all your meetings, and I was one of the people that went around with petitions because I was interested in this particular topic. And I really want to share with you a little bit of what people said to me, because I started to think about that the other night. I felt an obligation to get up here. I had a number of different responses, and it was very interesting. Some people signed that petition right away, and they said, I lived out here to live in the country, and that's what I wanted to stay. That's not a, based on research answer, but it's someone's feelings, and they're your constituents. Somebody else said, I'm petrified of driving on that road as it is, with more commercial buildings down there and the traffic getting worse. I would be afraid to leave my home. And believe it or not, they weren't senior citizens. There were a number of people that said that, and I'm not, being facetious here. Some people said, well, we really don't need anything closer to us because we're very close to the mall, and any service that we have at this point, we need at this point, we have fairly accessible to us. Most people travel down to Douglas County anyways to go to work during the day, so they're headed in that direction. And then there were some people who refused to sign it. They didn't want any part of it. And what I was amazed at was that people did not say no to signing the petition because they wanted services. The only reason, I had a number of reasons, in other words, for signing it, but only one reason stuck out of all the people that refused to sign it that I spoke to, and that was, we need a relief in our taxes. Well, that sounds pretty good. I'm not a mathematician, and I'm not a politician, and I don't know anything about town government or anything like that, but it's pretty hard for me to believe that by changing a large amount of property to a C2, allowing people to develop that that's going to decrease my taxes personally as a taxpayer in this town. In fact, I was so wondering about it so much, I talked to some people that I worked with who had comparable houses in comparable areas, and the only difference between people I worked with and myself was that they lived in areas where there was commercial property, and I didn't. And lo and behold, their taxes were higher than mine. So I don't know the answer to the question, and I don't know how much it costs to put roads in. I don't know how much it costs to put in sewers. I don't know how much it costs to put in water. I don't have personally the time to look into all this. But I believe, just as a human being, that you don't get anything for free, and that a change in a large area, like the property that's being addressed tonight, has to cost the taxpayers in this town money. And I'm not sure I want to spend my money on that. Give me a tax increase in the school, and I'll be glad to support the kids. But I don't want to support a commercial development that we don't need. We don't need more stores here. That's the bottom line. To me, it's just a common sense thing. It has nothing to do with forms and reports and lawyers or anything else. The bottom line is we have what we need. We're living fine. And why do we need to develop more land? My suggestion to you would be, I urge you, first of all, you must assume by now that I'm going to urge you to vote no for it. But the other thing is, I think you need a better master plan. 74 is too old. As far as I know, the 96 plan has never been voted on. It's sitting on the shelf. Is that true?
It's been voted on it with procedural error.
Okay. I really think if you want a master plan that's going to suit the needs of all these people, including the landowners, the homeowners, the people that are for development and not and against development. And personally, I think eventually we're going to have development in the town of Schroppel. I mean, I think that's inevitable. We've seen it in Brewerton, coming up from Cicero North Syracuse. We've seen it in Baldwinsville. So we know we have to face that. But wouldn't it be better to face it with a master plan that was developed by all the stakeholders that are involved here, rather than a few people, and not and be objective and be separate from politics and separate from what do you call it? I'm too tired to even think. Special interests, but to have a plan that would provide an out for the landowners, provide the correct development in the area so that the homeowner's property value does not suffer, and so that you don't have to sit here and listen to everybody complain for hours and hours. That's all I have to say.
No? Anyone else want to speak? Anything the board wants to ask? At this time, then I would close the public hearing, and I'd ask for a 5-minute recess. Have a motion for that? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Legislator Seeger.
Good evening, Mr. Supervisor and members of the town board. I am pleased to bring a packet, and I apologize for only having one tonight. I tried to get others available to us, and as soon as they are available to me, I'll get them to the town clerk. Last Thursday, the county legislature was given the opportunity by Mr. Martin Bassanti, who is the regional director for the off-track betting.
Bassinet.
Thank you. For the off-track betting in Oswego County, it's actually the western region. And he gave us a report in the packet, and as I say, I'll make sure that these are available to other people if you want to pick them up as soon as I get them. In the packet, it shows a very nice architectural drawing of the new OTB that will be opening up on 481, 57A in Huntley Road area. It's fashioned after a Kentucky horse barn, complete with the metal siding and facades to make it look sort of rural in character. He also included in the packet some information about Oswego County and the kinds of money that the off-track betting has brought into this community since it opened in 1979 in Oswego County. From the period of time from 1979 until 1996, Oswego County received $5.2 million in revenue from the off-track betting offices that are located in Oswego County. The off-track betting paid during that same period of time over $2.5 million in surcharge payments. Other taxes that were paid to New York State because of the Oswego County off-track betting parlors during that time totaled $1.7 million. Currently, the off-track betting employs 18 people who live and work in here in Oswego County for a total of paid wages and fringe benefits of $6.8 million. This new facility, they anticipate an annual handle, as they call it, a take, the amount of money that crosses through the windows. The anticipated annual handle of between $8 and $10 million at this one facility. Currently, with all of these figures, the average for all of the Oswego County off-track betting facilities averages just over $9 million. So this new facility will generate some large revenues for our area. There's also in the packet a layout of the proposed facility and some of the highlights that will be included in the building and in the design. And as I say, I will make sure that there are copies available if anyone wants to look at this evening. I'll be happy to share it with them. Does anybody have any other questions for me?
Yeah, I got one. You ever have a public hearing on that?
Did the county have a public hearing back in 1979 when they opened the off-track betting?
No, I mean this one, the new one they put out.
Yes.
They said nobody on Hollywood don't know about it.
I imagine that the town board probably made public notice because they're required to.
The planning board held a public hearing.
I got a question. You said there's 18 employees with $6.9 million.
$6.8 million in fringe benefits and in wages between 1979 and 1996. During the same period of time with all the other.
I thought it was per year.
During that same period of time. Any other questions? Thank you.
Any other public concerns this time? Sharon?
I have some, but the hour's growing late, and I will ask them next time.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Fred?
I just have one question. I don't mean to sound... Let me just ask a question. When is the vote going to be held in the commercial zone?
The opportunity is there on the agenda, Fred. It's on this agenda. If the board so chooses, it's here. Okay.
I'm just curious.
Okay. It's here for their...
We had a lot of talk. I just wonder if we voted or we just talked.
Well, it's here for the board to take the opportunity.
Thank you.
We have minutes for approval. We have minutes from the September 17th meeting. That, I would ask if there is no questions that we approve them.
So moved.
Have a second? Any discussion? All in favor, aye? Opposed? Carried. We have meetings from the October 1st meeting, our minutes, that I would ask if there are any questions we approve.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye? Opposed? Carried. Budget transfers. We need to transfer $45.85 to signs. The attorney's quarterly retainer fee and other legal matters need to transfer to his account, $6,489.78. Engineer services, $219.62. The election equipment, the machines that we bought, $2,000, the first half portion. The other one will be in the next year's budget, $2,550. The assessor's account, $535.85, for a total of $9,841.10.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? With that, I would ask for approval of the capital fund vouchers 1048 to 1049 in the amount of $4,114.64. The general vouchers 1,050 to 1,092 in the amount of $17,022.37. Highway 1,093 to 11,001 in the amount of $3,594.95.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Old business. Having researched and examined the zone change requests for the 5 properties as presented to this board along County Route 10 over the past several weeks, and after having heard public comment this evening, I am recommending to this board that without prejudice, the request be denied.
So moved.
Second.
We have discussion.
During, I believe it was Dave Hanford's comments, he mentioned a statement that I made, and I believe it was a question that I'd asked the attorney, and that was, could we modify the zone change requests at this time? And he said, no, we have to act on these as they are presented. And that was the reason for the Dave's still here or not. But that was the reason for this. It was a question to you as an attorney as to how we were to proceed procedurally in terms of acting on these zone changes.
I would just like to say that I think there were, Mr. Barnhart said it tonight, sitting up here, it's very difficult not to want to answer a whole lot of things that were said tonight. This is a professional position, not a personal one. And I will keep it on that basis that I will not answer a lot of things that I would like to. We've all done a lot of research in this. We talked to a lot of people, and a looked into a lot of things, and it certainly was not a decision that was taken lightly from any standpoint. And I will answer one thing that has been said, and that it was said that I said that only those 5 people requesting zone change mattered. And I did not say that. I said that they have rights just the same as all of you. And once they request this, then we have a legal duty to address the issue. And we have steps we have to take, whether you like it or whether we like it. These have to be done. And that is what we had to do. And we had to look at all sides and all issues. And we did not have a right, or I do not believe, to personally say what we wanted in this.
I think that the conduct of the board as a whole in listening has been not to make a decision until this, for lack of a better term, acting as a jury for this zone change. That we heard as much as we could hear, and we did as much as we could do to research and the concept and the idea of this. And I think that for the most part, I think we listened. We went out and looked at how close some of these people were. John, you knew that I did that the first day, and spoke to you that you were a third of a mile away. I measured it, and that this would come to your backyard. I did not commit myself in any shape, way, or form, but that wasn't because you don't want to. It's not fair to. It's easy to be political.
I do think that the county planning's recommendations weighed heavily in this, in as much as some of the things that they brought forth would be too difficult at this time to mitigate in order to make this work. So I also agree that denial would be the best way to go.
Okay, I wanted to...
Can I make one more comment?
I just want to state that this is my suggestion, recommendation of the board, it was without prejudice. And that means that we're not biased either way.
I still think that there is a problem in terms of needs in that area. And John, you were talking about some of the things that were in C2. And I don't know whether it's legal for me to make a suggestion, and I'll leave that to you. But if suggestions, and because it was pointed out that I shouldn't be making suggestions. But if the area is going to develop into homes, and someone puts in the adequate systems that get approved by the health department, county planning, town planning, and every other hurdle they have to go through, the area is still going to change from what it is now, a brush lot, which harbors a lot of deer. And I think some of the motivation around here may be the deer hunting in there. I wouldn't be surprised. But what I would say is that the needs, I think, down through that area, is some of the things that you mentioned, John, were maybe a daycare center, homes that would allow businesses in them, barbershops, beauty salons, stuff that people could live in. In other words, a residential commercial area. If this was an area, because it came to mind because there's another area in the town that's being addressed by the planning board where somebody is asking for a beauty salon in their home. Well, if we had a part of the town that allowed that, maybe some of these people could recoup some of their investment in people willing to do that with the adequate and permissible permits from the county and the town and the planning and the environmental assessment form. And that's what I would recommend, because a daycare center would help the working moms that live right up the road around my area to stop off, have a place to drop their kids, and pick them up on the way home very readily. A nursery school would be the same thing. Those kinds of things, I don't think, as I talk to many people, many of the residents in the area would be opposed to, because those would be the services that I think that would be that are lacking in our particular neighborhood. So if anybody, if I'm speaking out of turn, I'm speaking out of turn, but those are the kinds of things that I would entertain as far as the large portion of the area that was asked to be zone changed.
And if this comprehensive plan that supposedly has been put on a shelf here that's gathering dust, it was brought back out and the procedure was rectified, I believe there is in there that statement that in that area that south of Oneida River Road, it does mention it being commercial, so.
South of Oneida River Road.
So there are.
I don't have anything more to say.
Yeah, for the board. Then I would ask that the clerk take a roll call vote, and the no being denial.
Joanne Sivers?
No is denial? No.
Judy Grant?
No.
Bob Dalton?
No.
Miriam?
Denial.
Next just of old business we had was that we had a request from Mr. Ruddick to construct a barrier of some sort. He was going to let us use. The only thing here, we had it researched here by Dave and his office and town law, we can do it. Dave, the only other question I would ask is, do we have the right to, or do we have to get permission from him to put the barrier on his property?
No, it's in your right of way. It would be
Okay.
be in your right of way. No, you don't. But he asked for it basically anyway.
Yes. So I would entertain a motion, then we have the highway superintendent proceed to look into this and see about it. Have a motion?
So moved.
Have a second? Any discussion? All in favor, aye? Opposed? Carried. Any old business? Okay, new business. Do you have the seal bid? I'll go do that first. We had a
Well, the sealed bid have opened now.
Okay.
Here, use the microphone, please.
Oh, Margaret?
You and her, go.
Okay.
Maybe we could cut that.
Well, you can ask the people behind you to stop talking, and they could help you also. We have a bid here from Oneida Lake Energy Products, Town of Schroppel. Oneida Lake Energy Products is pleased to submit the following bid for your consideration. Product, propane, .799 per gallon. Above bid price are for deliveries made to Oneida Lake Energy Products tanks at your location. The tanks will hook up to your existing lines. There is no charge for the installation of the tanks. Prices are subject to market fluctuation. I suggest we table this and let the highway superintendent make a recommendation to us. Have a motion to do that?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. I would like to have a motion that we appropriate up to $400 for CNS to fill out a grant application papers to see if we can't get a grant for infrastructure monies for at least laying the infrastructure for County Route 57A.
So moved.
Have a second? Any discussion?
What was the other one? We got 75,000.
That $75,000 was the water.
Just the water and the infrastructure now is for
This grant we're applying for would be to lay infrastructure of sewer lines.
And how much are we asking for? How much is the grant?
He hasn't given me the cost estimate. Well, I'll take that back. It's around $200,000, I think.
And you can ask for a grant in that amount?
I don't know. It's true that you saw the letter that he wrote back to us. It's through the revolving fund there. Yeah, it was put it in your mailbox. It was a revolving fund. Here it is. Here. We are writing a response to your request to CNS, this Clean Water State Revolving Fund application for Route 57A sanitary sewer project. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye? Opposed? Carried. I would like to establish a public hearing for the budget that the budget officer and myself turned over to the town clerk and to the boards for the perusal, which at this time, by using the sales tax money, projection is 2 cents overall cheaper than last year, or less than a zero-based budget at this time. So I would like to establish a public hearing for that for our next meeting on November 5th, 7 o'clock. Have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We received our information we requested from Pennville Fire Department. So I would also like to establish a public hearing to follow as soon after as the one for our regular budget for the Pennville Fire Department.
So moved.
Have a second.
You need the time?
I'd like, at the time I put as soon after as our budget hearing, our regular budget hearing for the town.
And so after we address that, we'll address Pennville.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Does the board have any new business? I did. Judy and Amelia.
I move on the Pennville thing.
Does the board have any new business? Any public concerns? Joanne, it's your turn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Have a second.
You mentioned talking about the associations of town. Justice Ed Winkworth, got a letter from the Association of Town on the behalf of the membership of the Association of Towns, excuse me, State of New York. I want to thank you for your participation in our 1997 training school and annual meeting program. We received many positive comments from more than 2,500 town officials in attendance about the quality of the program. That is directly attributable to the willingness to share your experience and expertise. Once again, many thanks. Please not hesitate to contact us as we are ready for assistance to your endeavors. And that's from the Jeff Avery, Executive Director of the Association of Towns. That's about all the report I got.
Okay, Ray? Yes. I was asked to look into get some information on what it might cost to have a generator installed in the Haven Highway Department. I have been trying to get some information. In fact, I'm meeting tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock here. One board member will only come and meet me here.
Me and Jim are going someplace already at 9 o'clock.
Anything 9 o'clock in the morning?
How long is this going to be?
Just look at the building over and see what we might need as far as the size and the
That was at 10 o'clock, though.
That's all I had, Jim.
Okay, on the administration side, the responsibility for there's activity taking place over in the supervisor's office on new equipment that's coming in there for that office. I talked with Justice Winkworth today about a computer type thing, and you said you were looking into that. Is that right?
Oh, the computer table or
Yeah.
something like it? Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so you got that going. The Altel just brought a new main line into the building because of the accumulation over time of several lines. They just put a master line in. It's got enough runs to take care of the future anyway. We're tied into the world in some instances with the computer system now, so we don't have a page, or we don't have online particularly, but we are tied into the banks, the people we have to deal with. So we're transferring our monies that have to be done in the future through the processes allowed to the computer system. Generally, we were pretty fortunate. The high winds we've had here the last week or 2 weeks or so on hasn't done any damage to the buildings that we have on Main. So I guess we're all set there. Councilperson Anthony, senior citizens?
Nothing on the seniors, but I have something on
Assessors? Okay, I'm supposed to be a liaison if the assessors have something to pass on to the town board?
Yeah.
Okay, Jim, I think this is your writing here, I can't read it. But it says can't read it. It says Rose, the
Is it tight?
supervisor, this one is, I'll read the other. Rose, the supervisor's office has received a request from Carl Reynolds as to the proper procedures for a refund, you don't need that. Previous taxes overpaid due to incorrect recording of documentation regarding his properties. Property A assessed at original amount. Property B assessed at improved property when properties were combined. For more information regarding this request, please contact Mr. Reynolds at either 564 blah blah, then please discuss this issue with the assessor's office. Okay, I went into the assessor's office. Ray Holt wrote to the town Granby board. Granby board, due to a mistaken entry, Carl Reynolds of County Route 85 was overassessed by $22,200 on a plot of vacant land he purchased in 1984. I believe this entry was made by Honeycutt when the town of Granby went to full value. This mistake was not discovered until 1996 when Orps and Oswego brought it to our attention. We then combined the vacant land value with his other property. This corrected the property as far as we are concerned. This is when Mr. Reynolds wondered why he was getting one tax bill instead of two. My research shows that Mr. Reynolds has been overassessed by the above mentioned $22,200 from 1990 to 1995. Now, Jim, is this your writing in between what I've got to do? Whose writing is that?
No, that was what she typed from.
No, that's writing.
Well, yeah, she said, what I'm saying, she took my notes and wrote up your letter.
What does it say? Read it to me.
My note reads, inquire as to the procedure for refund based on documentation of properties not recorded properly. Parcel A was original, parcel B is improved property, and refund of previous payment is requested by Mr. Reynolds. That's my note from him when he called me, and when the secretary took and wrote that up, she was trying to give you the outline that we had going, and the procedures, what we're looking for,
Well,
and
it looked
I
like
appreciate
doctor's
it.
writing in there. I don't know whose it was.
Well, I don't have a doctor's degree.
Well, far from it. Well, let me tell you.
Wait a minute, I know what's wrong.
Let me tell you, do I have to go to Reynolds and check on this?
No. I go to the assessor. Just take and check out as to. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you why this is happening, just so you get this. I want, no offense meant to anybody, just